Please listen carefully.
Hello, universe. Welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Summers McKay.
And I'm Christy Jansen, and we are part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to help us all get focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy, I'm gonna take a tiny vacation to California-worthy podcast. Today is Thursday, March 10th, 2022. Christy, I get to see you tomorrow.
I know. It's going to be exciting. We'll get to be in the same physical space for the first time since I came out to Austin last year.
I know. I was thinking about the story that we covered yesterday about not taking flights, and certainly COVID reduced the number of flights involved in life, but I am so grateful and so excited to be traveling. I am, however, traveling alone with my daughter, just she and I, and it kind of makes me nervous because she's a bit of a sprinter. Just wish me luck that we keep her tightly collected in her stroller.
You get her one of those leashes, they have those little backpacks with the leash on it.
Yeah.
To keep within 10 feet of you.
I had one of those when we went on like a little mini vacation, and she thought that it just meant she could run and pull me. And so it wasn't particularly effective, but she is a bit older than she used to be. And obviously, because time happens. So perhaps she will be more well-mannered, and she has been on airplanes before. But I am a little nervous. So when we touch down later today in California and all is safe and well, I will probably be Instagramming it. But I'm very excited to come see you. It makes me feel optimistic to be in community with you and many of my friends. It's also my father's birthday weekend, so we're celebrating a pretty impressive birthday for my dad. So I am very much looking forward to my mini working vacation weekend with my daughter, and I can't wait to see you.
Likewise.
I mean, other than me coming to visit you, anything interesting in your life today?
I'm just trying to get through the work week, and that's all I'm focused on right now. Trying to keep my head out of the news as much as possible and focus on how to be a positive influence on the people closest to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting that you say that on how to be a positive influence on the people closest to you, because the story that I'm going to talk about today is one that personally interested me, and I know you being a bit of an empathic, kind soul were likewise interested in it. The headline reads, "Genuine empathy or people-pleasing. Here's how to tell the difference." Now, I jokingly renamed the headline of this as, am I really nice or just desperately in need of being loved? And, humans are social beings. Most of us have acted with another person, other people's feelings in mind rather than prioritizing our own. Acting this way is not intrinsically good or bad. In fact, oftentimes it is a demonstration of compassion, which plays a key role in being a considerate part of society. On the other side, individuals who are constantly putting others before themselves out of misguided intentions are at risk of becoming people pleasers. The line between genuine empathy and people pleasing is so fine and easily blurred that it can be kind of confusing to figure out, and certainly self-reflection is critical. A clinical psychologist and author of How to Be Yourself, Quiet Your Inner Critic, and Rise Above Social Anxiety, Ellen Hendrickson, helps us understand that fundamentally, empathy is an ability. It allows us to feel what others are feeling or to really understand what they're thinking. By contrast, people-pleasing is a behavior, which typically happens in response to a fear of being criticized or rejected. Empaths and empathetic people exemplify this kind of trait, whereas people-pleasers' behavior depends on situations. Now, the question is, can you be both? And the answer, I think, is yes, right? I think you can be empathic and then also develop the habit of people pleasing because your empathic skill just is something that you're so accustomed to. So how do we distinguish between the two and make sure that we are being empaths and contributing to society in a kind way and not people pleasing? One, what is your motivation? Healthy empathy is typically driven by tuning into the experience of others and responding in connective ways, whereas people pleasing is more about trying to gratify someone, and it's often at the expense of your own best interests. People pleasers are looking for validation or conflict avoidance. Empaths are just coming from genuine concern or understanding of how the other person feels. Another thing that you can check with yourself, were you people pleasing or were you being empathic, is how do you feel afterward? Practicing empathy typically feels good. People pleasing makes you drained and a little resentful because you're unconsciously seeking some kind of return for all the placating you've done. So, did it feel good to do that thing for someone else, or are you really drained and kind of wish you hadn't? Now, check in with yourself. Are your behaviors leaving you feeling connected and whole, or are they draining your resources? Give yourself acts of compassion, and then ask yourself if your acts of compassion to others leave you satisfied, or are you looking for a tit-for-tat dose of validation? I think this is such a great, simple article to remind us, because I think even those of us who are traditionally empathic can quickly become people pleasers, and, putting others in front of ourselves can actually be a bad habit because it doesn't elevate everyone.
You can be genuinely empathetic or genuinely caring. Especially I'm thinking about close people in your family.
Right.
And if you're a caretaking type of personality, you can end up putting yourself last to your own detriment.
Right.
You know how your kid is going to feel, so you want to make sure that they feel great. But in the meantime, you've given up all of your other relationships with other people, or likewise with your partner. You're just always helping them without getting some of that back in return, right? So,
right.
How do you set those boundaries? Yeah.
And figuring out how to set boundaries with those people that you love. And, there could even be that this article itself can be a discussion point of, I want to be here for you and I want to love you, but when I find myself doing X, Y, or Z, I'm drained and not happy.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that's good for either of us. All right. So what do you think about families, Christy?
Speaking of boundaries and speaking of how we're all interconnected, my headline is just kind of a cool development, and it's about a subject that I follow closely. The headline reads, scientists create largest family tree ever, connecting 27 million ancestors. And this is about how the incredible advances in DNA technology and our understanding of the human genome, as well as others, has now led to advances in understanding human origins and how people have moved across this planet over the last couple 100,000 years. If you had to guess, how many ancestors would you say you had? You're going to think about your most immediate ancestors. If you've done one of those DNA tests, maybe you'll know that you've got lots of relatives going back 8 or 10 generations, right? And as people come in, they can help you get connected to those who are in your quotes family tree. But this is taking it even to the next level, because if you consider that Homo sapiens sapiens, which is what modern humans are called, that's the actual species name, came into existence on this earth around 200,000 years ago, maybe earlier. As this technology has gotten better, there's new advances or new insight coming every single day. So even this story might have to be updated in another year or two once they sequence the genomes of bones they found in East Africa again, or in Morocco. There's new information coming out every month almost at this point about the story of humanity. But around 200,000 years ago is when modern Homo sapiens sapiens first really appeared on the planet. So if you think about that, it's a lot of ancestors to add up. And there's 8 billion people on the planet now, more than that. Anyway, so this article is about a group of scientists at the University of Oxford who recently published a paper in Science that detailed how they answer the question of how many ancestors do we have? And they used Oxford's Big Data Institute. They used the data sequencing and the ability to process tremendous amounts of data through algorithms and the numerous genomic sources that are available now that have never been able to be mapped out before, to create the largest family tree that has ever been conceptualized or created. And it's sort of this interesting map that they were able to create. They use comparative DNA analysis of both modern and ancient human genomes across 215 different populations. And then the algorithm outputted a network connecting around 27 million ancestors. Not only this, the results help us in modeling human migration across the world and also the evolution of all the organisms that currently inhabit the planet today. It's sort of this reaching back in time through seeing how different subsets of people are connected today and how they were connected to ancient examples of humans that have been discovered. It's just this new multifaceted picture that starts to emerge.
It emerges in a way that reminds us just how interconnected we all are.
Absolutely.
Instead of thinking of the other, it's all of us. And that I think is very fascinating. I don't know if you've ever done a DNA test, but I have done one. And being an adopted person, I spent most of my life kind of feeling biologically isolated, if that makes sense. And when I took a DNA test, it took years and years before any immediate family ended up showing up on that, but the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cousins and second cousins and third cousins. And it was a very gentle eye opener to remember just how not isolated any of us are.
I have done those. I mean, I'm not adopted, so I knew who I was definitely related to, but then there was new people who came into the mix that I hadn't ever encountered. But this interesting work was able to be carried out thanks to some of the incredible advances in genetic analysis that have gone down in the last 20 years. And through whole genome sequencing, a whole new field has been created of comparative genomics, which is allowing us to understand genetic diseases, allowing us to understand human migration patterns, which, hey, we've never stood still. Humans have always been moving around the planet, like constantly. While this is focused on human genomes, they are doing similar types of studies now on most living things. It's valid for all kinds of animals and creatures, from orangutans to bacteria. It inspires me and it lights up my curiosity. So that's why I wanted to share it today.
I think the next big trend is going to be dog and cat DNA. Who's your dog related to?
Oh, yeah.
No, you want to know. I want to know who Denali's ancestors are. Hey guys, everybody, thank you for listening to today's Optimist Daily Update. We've got a few more stories to talk about. 8 common signs of vitamin deficiency and what to do about them. 6 super healthy gluten-free grains. And teeny tiny water samples reveal secrets about huge creatures. What else?
Well, we have 4 strategies for dealing with political talk at work, and Europe's first biorefinery, which uses algae to make sustainable biojet fuel. That and much more on today's Optimist Daily, so go check it out. Thanks, as always, for listening to the Optimist Daily Update. We promise to continue to share solution-based, positive stories with ideas on how you can participate in the changing world and help ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to keep covering current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offering you the information we all need to chart new paths for all of us.
As always, guys, we need your help, and the help you can give us is by sharing us on your social media. Go to our Instagram stories and share them on your stories. Share our posts on Facebook. Help us grow by sharing us with those you know. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with more solutions.